that decision. Now, if you have to win or get a medal, you're going
Right.
to
Sure.
take the 4 kilo jump. So
Right.
we're not replacing that. But what we're saying is if you're not going to win, but you are like shooting for a spot,
Yeah.
this is going to give you this percent chance of making, or this next one, it drops so much that I'm not willing to take that increase. So you have an informed decision
Yeah.
on what the jumps do on success percentages based on historical rankings.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that's just a one way of
Right.
incorporating a different field into weightlifting.
One of the big hurdles in talking about sports science with athletes is that so much of it is kind of done in a vacuum, right? We have like a lot of studies on hypertrophy or on strength or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, those are really great. You also need to throw the shot put 140 times a week, or you need to wrestle for an hour and a half a day or whatever, right? And so when you put in those extra volumes, you have to account for it as a coach or trainer or an athlete, right? You can't lift like Ronnie Coleman and wrestle like whoever's wrestling. Like you have to decide where you're going to pick and choose those volume pieces. How do you manage, like, what are the considerations that people need to take when they are trying to manage the volume for their sport and do the training?
Yeah, that's excellent. So, really, the biggest disconnect is when you're looking at applied sports science in the field and what's actually happening with athletes versus a laboratory based study. Because one is controlling for as many variables as possible while trying to isolate them and answer a question, whereas a practical applied is an ecologically based study, and you're trying to meet the athletes where they are. You describe those limitations and you do the best you can, knowing that they have to. So, if we go back to first principles, there's only so much stress that an athlete can handle as an organism. Some people can handle more stress than others due to your genetics, but at a certain point, there's a finite amount that we can put on an athlete and have them recover and get better, right? You can always just train and recover to baseline, but
Right.
that's not what we're searching for. We're looking for performance improvements by going above baseline and getting better.
Right.
So we need to be able to control all the factors in this athlete's life, and then just slamming additional volume because we read a study and it showed that this is the outcome, that may push them beyond their recovery capabilities. So we have to then consider they're practicing this many days a week, they're doing this volume and stress on the joints, we're going to resistance train. Some athletes have to do metabolic conditioning. Some athletes are in school. Some athletes hold a job. There may be other health considerations, and each of those goes into the bucket of being able to recover and adapt from training. So as a sports scientist, you want to paint a full picture of the athlete, knowing that nothing works in isolation.